Okay, and if everybody could just please stay on mute for the duration of the webinar until I'm done and open it up for questions. We will have an advisor Q&A at the end of the webinar for all questions that were not answered. And we will go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover. We took up the full time last time, so go ahead and get started. Okay, so for everybody that has not seen our SLC page yet, if you hover over conferences and click on State Leadership Conference from our Florida HOSA website, it will take you to our State Leadership Conference page. I would like to point out really quick in this red box, this is not new, but our Florida HOSA Inc. Board of Directors policy is that there are no cancellations or refunds after the March 6th registration deadline. The reason it's front and center on the page all the way up at the top in this red box is so that everybody sees it. So I want to point it out. All names in the registration system after it automatically closes on March 6th must be paid for, even if you do not end up attending the SLC. So there are no exceptions. We are allowing substitutions only for courtesy core voting delegates if approved by the regional advisors, or team competitive event registrations. Those substitution requests must be made to me via email by 5 p.m. on Friday, April 10th. And there's a link to the team substitution information, which I will go over in just a second when we get down to the forms. But please note there are no substitutions for singular competitive events. So if a student placed in the top 3 at regionals and has made it to the State Leadership Conference, you cannot substitute somebody else for that student's competitive event. The only substitutions for the competitive events would be for team registrations. And like I said, again, courtesy core and voting delegates if approved by the regional advisors. Scrolling down, we have a link. Again, this should not be the first time you've seen this, but our Florida HOSA competitive event offerings, if you need to look at those again, but you should be aware of those by now. Advisors, please read the below important information updates for SLC 2026 before proceeding. This is all very important information. I am going to go over it in the SLC information document that I'm about to show you in just one moment, but we also have it at the top here because it's in very important information. Some of it is new, and you'll see that new this year for the Barbara James Service Award and Health Literacy Ambassador and the HOSA History exam. We will go through this, but anything that is bulleted here in red or blue is very important, so please make sure you're reading through this. We will go through it. The SLC will take place at the Marriott Orlando World Center, April 16th through the 19th. We are anticipating over 4,000 members to attend. We were just under 4,000 last year, so we'll definitely be over 4,000 this year. The deadline to register is March 6th. Again, we'll go through all of this. If you know of anybody that might be interested in exhibiting with us, our Expo and Career Fair at the State Leadership Conference will be from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday, April 17th. But if you have anybody that might be interested, have them come here to this paragraph here. They can click on our sponsorship levels and policy. We also have our sponsorship registration form, or they can always email Mandy or I for more information or if they have any questions. Once this recording is edited, we will post it here. We will also, the first recording is also in here as well. So we will have both the first SLC Advisor webinar and this webinar recording in this box for your viewing pleasure. We covered the same exact thing in the first recording. So if you're here and you stay for the full duration of the webinar, you do not need to watch the first recording unless you're interested in the advisor Q&A at the end, in which it's timestamps. You can go and listen to that. But we will hopefully have this recording posted tomorrow so that you all can view it if needed and at your leisure. Obviously, all of these documents on this page are very important. That's why they're on here. But if there is one document that you read it must be the SLC information and instructions document. We're going to go through this in depth, but please note, if you email me and you ask me a question that is answered in one of these documents, I will just point you to the document to read on your own, okay? We have over 22,000 members. My email inbox is always flooded with questions. You have to take it upon yourself to go through this information and read it. That's why we have it on here. So I will point you to any information that if you ask a question that can be answered in here, which pretty much everything should be able to be answered. If you read through everything and you still have a question about something, of course, email me and I will help you if I can. But again, if it is found on this page, I will point you to it to read on your own. So please read this document right here, the SLC information and instructions. That's why it says must read. It's very important, has all the information that you'll need for the conference for the most part. So I do want to point out our conference registration fees. One question I tend to get every year is if meals are included with the registration fee. So now we have included this here. Meals are not provided with your registration fee. If meals were provided, the cost would be a lot higher. So it is $100 for affiliated student members, advisors, chaperones, and family guests. If you're a middle school advisor, I sent a separate email to you regarding the conference registration fees. If you did not get that email, please email me and I will forward it on to you. But we pulled all of our affiliated middle school advisors. Also, if you're a middle high school, you should have gotten the email. If you didn't get it, please let me know and I will forward it on to you. But $100 for each of those listed. Any family guest 5 years of age or older must be registered. Anybody under 5 does not need to be registered. $20 for non-attending Barbara James Service Award only. We do allow your members, if they would like to be recognized for Barbara James Service Award, if they meet the minimum requirement for recognition, we will allow them to be recognized at SLC when we announce the Barbara James Service Award people that we are recognizing. And if they do not want to attend and still be recognized, they can pay for the non-attending Barbara James Service Award only registration, which is $20. But those are only for the student members that are not attending SLC. If they are attending SLC and they're only in Barbara James Service Award, they would need to be registered as a regular, under a regular registration for a student member, which would be $100. Late registration fee will be $150 for each affiliated student, member, advisor, chaperone, and family guest, and $70 for non-attending Barbara James Service Award only. This late registration fee applies to registrations that are after our deadline, which is March 6th, through 11:59 p.m. EST on March 11th. And this is by email request only to me, and obviously I will have to approve it. You will not be able to go in the system and make any sort of late registrations once March 6th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time occurs. Our registration will be closed. So any late registrations will need to be requested through me and approved, but that is only through 11:59 p.m. EST on March 11th. After March 11th, there are no late registrations. We're, like I said, anticipating over 4,000 members. We have a lot of materials that we have to order and prepare for, so we have to start ordering as soon as registration closes in order to receive it in time for SLC. So we have to have our final registration numbers no later than March 11th. Please note that for late registration, pre-ordered options or activities are not available for the late registration. So if you have a late registration and I approve the late registration, they will not be able to register for the Leadership Academy or order a t-shirt. The pre-ordered options are not available for late registration. Please just make sure you're registering by March 6th is basically the moral of this. Options activities that I will show you when we go through the registration, the Leadership Academy. That will be $10 per student member. The Leadership Academy will be April 18th on Saturday at the conference, 2 to 5 p.m. Student members are not allowed to attend the SLC for the sole purpose of participating in the Leadership Academy. They must be registered as a competitor, courtesy corps member, voting delegate, and or state officer candidate. They cannot just attend SLC to attend the Leadership Academy. They have to have another assignment or function. Our short-sleeved SLC t-shirts, I will show you the design for that in just a second if you have not already seen it on our social media. Those shirts will be $20 if pre-ordered, $25 on site. We only order a small number of additional shirts. So if you want a shirt or your students members want a shirt or any family guests or chaperones, please make sure you're pre-ordering them because if they get to SLC and we're sold out of them, then we're sold out, unfortunately. So we really strongly encourage everybody to pre-order their t-shirts, plus you'll save $5 by doing so. Please note our pre-order policy. Once a t-shirt has been ordered, it must be paid for, even if that person cancels his or her registration. Unclaimed t-shirts may be resold. If you have a substitution, if it's after the registration deadline for that substitution, that person, whoever's substituting, if there was a pre-ordered t-shirt with that registration, that's the size that they will get. Because again, I order the t-shirts right after, literally March 7th, place the order for our t-shirts so that we have enough time to have them made and delivered. Extra small t-shirts are only available for pre-order. We will not be ordering any additional extra smalls. So please make sure, especially middle school, I know that's a popular size in our middle school division. Please make sure if you have students that want any extra small shirts, they're pre-ordering because we will not be ordering any of those in addition to what the pre-order is. Conference registration deadline, already mentioned that, Friday, March 6th, 11:59 p.m. EST. Again, here's our policy about the cancellations. Postmark deadline. We're hoping for our returning advisors, you might note that this is a little bit later than normal. Usually the postmark deadline is the following Monday. We've listened to feedback and just with the workload and everything, we are pushing the postmark deadline to hopefully better help you. Gives you guys some more time to make sure you get all your registrations in by Friday, March 6th. And then you have about a week and a half to make sure you're getting all the paperwork together and completed. Don't wait until after the registration deadline to do that. Start early, but it does give you that little bit of time. Also, it gives you that extra time to get the payment from your bookkeeper, school or district or whatever in order to send the payment in with your registration paperwork. So everything needs to be sent together in one packet. You'll see all payment and forms must be mailed. Schools whose registration packet does not have a postmark of March 16th or before will have their registration canceled and a past due invoice for the school's registration fees will be set. We have to have, please make sure your registration packet is postmarked by March 16th. If there's some extenuating circumstance, like your bookkeeper, an emergency happened or something like that, please reach out to me as soon as possible. Don't wait till March 16th because there's probably nothing I can do for you then. But please make sure you're reaching out to me as soon as possible. I can work with you on a case-by-case basis if we are able to. But that's only for extenuating circumstances. We're giving, like I said, we're giving you about an extra week and a half to get all of the forms and the payment together. We have to receive the packets quickly because after March 16th, because we have to start processing all of the registrations and the payments. And we have to have enough time to reach out to you if there's anything that might be missing from your packet that we have to have. So it gives us time to do that as well. Please remember, there's 4 of us from our staff working on SLC. And we are such a small staffed office, so we also require, you know, time to be able to process all of that. And like I said, reach out to you if there's anything missing. So together in one packet, you must have the SLC checklist. I will show you all of these forms, just hang tight. The SLC checklist, the registration summary report. Please note this is not the invoice. It's the registration summary report. The required attendee registration forms, student accommodation forms if applicable, the abuse prevention handbook statement, the last page only, the completed screening and training certification form, as well as the payment. Please make sure the payment's also in the packet. All of this together in one packet. Again, I will go through all of these. You probably, if you're new, might be thinking, what is all of that? And we will go through that in just a second. I want to note this, that we have right here under the postmark deadline, chapters in close proximity to the state office are encouraged to hand deliver their registration packet. So if you're in the Gainesville, Alachua, maybe even like Ocala, that outside area, I really highly encourage you to deliver them to our office. I can't tell you how many packets from the surrounding areas of our office, one being right down the street, got lost last year in the mail. So if you are in close proximity to our state office, please just try to hand deliver them. Just call our office, send us an email. We'll obviously just want to make sure that we're in the office when you do come and drive that, make that drive. But we just like to put that in there so we don't have any issues like last year. The payment information, allowable forms of payment, school check, money order, or bank or cashier's check. So we do not accept cash or personal checks. If we get cash or personal check, we will send it back to you, and it's going to delay the whole process, and you might not be able to check in for SLC at registration. Please do not send us personal checks or cash from your family guests. It all needs to be in, which is listed here, one form of payment per chapter, okay? Please don't send us a check, a school check for you and your members, and then 7 different checks for the 7 different family members that you have coming. It all has to be on one check. And again, school check, money order, bank or cashier's check. Speaking of our office, we are moving offices February 9th. If you've dozed off during this, please wake up, because this is one of the very important parts of this webinar to make sure everybody hears and understands. We are moving on February 9th, okay? We are not moving far. We are moving from Alachua to Gainesville, right down the road, about 10 minutes. But needless to say, we are moving. This address listed here in red is our new address. That is where the checks and payments and registration packets need to be sent, okay? So please make sure you're speaking with your bookkeeper. And you're not just handing them the invoice. The invoice does have our new address listed at the top, but that doesn't mean, I mean, they might just see, okay, Florida HOSA, process the payment, and then it gets sent to our old office, okay? Please make sure you are speaking with your bookkeeper before they process payment, and that they understand that, yes, it's being sent to Florida HOSA, okay? But we are at a different office building starting February 9th. I will send out a reminder email to everybody. We will post something on the website and our rotating banner as a reminder. We will update the address on our website under Contact Us. But I want to make sure you guys know and start the process now, okay? Like I said on the previous webinar that I had last week, I already got requests for W-9s. If your bookkeeper needs a W-9, please have them email Sandra Lynn. She's our business and finance manager. You can find her email on our website under Contact Us. Please have them reach out to her and request the W-9 if they need a new one with our new address listed on it. but please make sure that your checks are coming to our new office building, okay? It's very important. This is not an ideal time for us to move, but we had to, and so this is the situation we're in. We just want to make sure that you understand that your check needs to come to our new office building, not the old. If it comes to the old one, consider it pretty much lost because we might not be able to retrieve it, okay? Just going to delay the whole process. So start the process now of speaking with your bookkeeper and making sure that they understand that the payment needs to come to the new office. I know I've spent a lot of time talking about this, but it is very, 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 very important. And also please make sure that the payment is made payable to Florida HOSA Inc., not Global National HOSA. Sometimes we'll get that. The check's made out to Global National HOSA with our address. And sometimes our bank won't let us cash that check because it's not made out to Florida HOSA, which is what our organization's name is, okay? Global National HOSA is separate. That's where your affiliation dues go, okay? This is a Florida HOSA conference. Payment needs to come to Florida HOSA, and again, at our new address. Important registration information here. I get this question a lot, even at the conference, and I've had to say to family members or guests who have flown in, you know, I'm sorry, but we do not have on-site registrations, okay? So make sure all of your registrations are in the system by March 6th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of your guest family, all of your chaperones, and all of your student members. Please make sure that all of those registrations are in the system by that deadline because there are no on-site registrations at SLC. I already previously mentioned this, but all student members attending the SLC must have an assignment or a function. Okay, it's a privilege to be at SLC. I'll touch on this a little bit at the end of the webinar as I recap everything, but it is a privilege to be at SLC. Okay, we have over 22,000 members. Only 4,000 come to the State Leadership Conference. We don't want people there that are just there to come to the hotel and go to the pool, okay? They have to have an assignment or a function. So they need to be in a competitive event, which does include the recognition events, be a courtesy corps member or voting delegate. The voting delegates are assigned by your regional advisors, or be a state officer candidate. The Leadership Academy does not qualify as an assignment or a function. It is only offered to members registered for one of the above assignment functions that I just mentioned, okay? If any of you make changes to your online registration after sending your forms and payment to the state office, so let's say you complete your registration early, you're done March 1st, you send your full packet to our state office at the correct address, and you need to make a change to your registration a couple days later. That is obviously allowable because you're still before the March 6th registration deadline, but you've obviously already sent in your paperwork. Just email Mandy and let her know the change and attach an updated registration summary report to your email to her, okay? So that she knows, okay, this you know, they took out this student and added this student instead. It's not going to change their payment and their check amount, but it will change like what we have in our internal database for the for the conference. Again, I already mentioned this, substitutions can be made for courtesy corps voting delegate and team event registrations through Friday, April 10th. This is very important here. All schools, including post-secondary, so all my colleges, this also includes you, must be accompanied by a registered advisor or chaperone. If the advisor is unable to attend, one chaperone, parent, or alternate advisor, it must be a non-student 25 years of age or older. And I know a lot of you have requirements within your school of who is even allowed to chaperone. Obviously, this is our requirements, but your school requirements, if they're stricter, that will be what you will need to follow. One chaperone, parent, or alternate advisor must be registered and designated by the chapter advisor as the lead contact during the conference. The designation should be noted on the registration documents. I'll show you where to do that, and should include a cell phone number in case we need to get a hold of them. They will also be the ones that sign in at registration and that we give all of the conference materials to, and they must stay on site for the duration of the conference. I know most schools, the advisor attends, but in the event that the advisor cannot, again, someone must be designated as the point of contact. In order to register members, advisors, chaperones, and family members' guests, and again, like I mentioned in the beginning, it's the responsibility of you as the chapter advisor to make sure all of the parents are registered for, or siblings or whoever wants to attend is registered in the system by the deadline. It's also your responsibility to notify them of all of this information. And you could just point them to our SLC website too, because it's all here. But in order to register all of them for the conference, you'll need to use your charter number and password in this HOSA CMS. Again, most of you should already be well versed with this, as you guys have already registered for the regional conferences. We'll go through that in just a second. But we do have an online registration instructions document that you can reference if needed. This seems to be self-explanatory, but I still would like to mention it. Competitors and teams attending SLC must have competed and placed in the top 3 at their regional conference before advancing to the state leadership conference. The only exception to this would be if your regional advisors allow a 4th or 5th place person to attend if 1st through 3rd cannot. That would be the only exception. But they must have placed in the top, other than that, they must have placed in the top 3 at their regional conference if they're a competitor or a team that is advancing to states. Hotel information, there's a document I'm going to go through, so I know a lot of people have questions about the hotels. Hang tight. But hotel reservations need to be made directly with the Marriott by March 6th. Again, I have a whole page on the website with rates that we'll talk about. If the room block at the Marriott Orlando World Center is depleted before March 6th, an overflow hotel will be designated and posted to the SLC information page. This will happen. We will have an overflow hotel. We're getting too large. We cannot all fit at the Marriott in our room block. And so we will have an overflow hotel this year. I do have the overflow information. I just received it from my hotel person yesterday. And so I will update the hotel document. I'm just waiting to get some final other points of information to put on there. But we do have the pricing and the overflow that will be posted within the next couple of days, hopefully. It is Florida HOSA Inc.'s policy. And again, this is also extremely important. This is our general liability insurance protocol and policy, okay, that all HOSA members attending the SLC must be accompanied by their chapter advisor or the school approved chaperone and stay at the approved conference hotel, which was, like I said, the Marriott Orlando World Center or the overflow we have designated for the duration of the conference. We do not approve or sanction a person missing any part of the conference. I like to also point out this right here. So since the Marriott Orlando World Center is the designated conference hotel, all conference attendees must stay in this hotel. The only exception is once the room block's full, you can stay at the overflow hotel. This is vital because Florida HOSA must fill a designated number of rooms at the resort per our contract. If we fall below the contracted number because participants stay elsewhere, we will have to pay penalties resulting in higher registration fees for future conferences. I will touch a little bit more on this when I get to the hotel document because we do have the room block will not open until later this year due to what I just read. So I'll touch on that in just a second. Dress code. This is very important. Please make sure you, your members, your family guests, your chaperones, everybody is reading the dress code policy. I do get questions all the time about advisors and chaperones and family guests dress code. So we added this in here this year. All advisors, chaperones, and family guests should dress in business casual, keeping attire appropriate for a professional environment. If your students have questions about what's not allowed, I have a full paragraph right here of what not to wear. We will have security, we will have past state officers, we will have adults that I've designated to do so, but we will have plenty of people around, not letting students in to the conference area that are not in dress code. We're a professional organization. I don't want to see bathing suits, crop tops, jeans with rips and holes. Like that is not what we're representing here at Florida HOSA. Please make sure they're in dress code. They must always have their conference name tag where it's visible, and wristbands if applicable, which we will be using wristbands this year. I have a whole section here on student members, what to wear. Please note, down here in red, please explain to your members that for every general session, security will be standing at the entrance of the ballroom. We also will have security posted out front of the area that we are in the hotel, making sure everybody's in proper attire. They're not going to be permitted to enter the general session if they're not wearing the HOSA uniform or a navy blue or black suit. We will have monitors at the stage examining the attire of all members before they walk on stage to receive any awards or recognition. And members will not be permitted to walk on stage if they are not wearing the HOSA uniform or navy blue or black suit. And we have definitely told students that you can't walk across the stage because you're not in dress code. So please make sure they understand that. I have a link right here to our Florida HOSA dress code. The other thing to note, it's our Florida HOSA dress code, not the Global National HOSA dress code, okay? There is a difference. We do have on the dress code, on this link, we do have what Global National HOSA uses as their flyer for the dress code. But we have 3 more pages of what is required. There are a few differences between Global National HOSA's dress code and our dress code. So please make sure they're following the Florida HOSA dress code. That means no sneakers, which Global National HOSA has started to allow. We do not. So they need to be following our Florida HOSA dress code policy. Competitive events, we obviously cannot do it alone. We are way too large now. So we need help from all of our advisors. If you have been the lucky one to be selected as a lieutenant or event manager, your name will be on our assignment chart that I've posted. I'll show you in just a second. Please also note that we are moving to trying to have 100% industry professionals for judging, to take out the bias from any advisors, if you may have competitors in the event you're judging, and just to have more of a representation of that particular career field for that event for judging. But in the event that we are unable to fill all of the spots for judging with industry representatives, we will require advisors to fill those spots to judge. If that happens, you will receive an email from my judge coordination team closer to the conference. Please note, it's highlighted, it's in red, which means it's very important. There's no digital uploads, except for American Red Cross volunteer, Barbara James Service Award, Health Literacy Ambassador, HOSA Happenings, and the HOSA Service Project, which are the recognition events. Other than that, no required digital uploads. Everything must be brought hard copy to the SLC. There were a couple questions. My middle school advisors, I already put this in the email that I sent to you all. Like I said, if you did not receive it, please email me. I'll forward it to you. I did put a little bit of information about public health and the first step career skills, which is middle school only, in that email. I will be sending out an email regarding a couple of events, just to note how we're going to handle the no digital uploads and the in-person copies for that event. But we are not doing digital uploads. So again, if the guideline says digital uploads, whatever they are supposed to be uploading digitally will need to be brought hard copy to the conference. We do not offer the National Geographic Learning Academic Testing Center tests or the Emotional Wellbeing Challenge. Those are not offered at our SLC. Those are ILC only events. If you have members competing in personal care, life support skills, interviewing skills, or speaking skills, you must complete the student accommodation request form, which I will show you where to find that, and submit it with your registration packet. Those are the 4 events that require an accommodation form, and it must be submitted in order for them to compete. Okay, those will be turned into the event managers. Please just have them bring a copy with them too, just if for any reason it's lost in the mail or whatever, have them bring a copy of their accommodation form with them to the event as well. This is also very important because I get this question every year. We do not mail awards or certificates or medals out after the SLC. We don't have the time. It's way too expensive. And your students are supposed to be at all the general sessions and award sessions to get their award, certificate, or medal, okay? If you have a student who has fallen ill and is in their hotel room, throwing up or whatever, then you, at the end of the award session, you as the advisor can come up to the stage and pick up their award for them from the state officer team. Okay, but we do not mail awards, certificates, or medals. They're supposed to be at every general session that we have at the state leadership conference and should be there to pick up their award. Like I said, unless they're sick or something like that, you can pick it up for them at the end. Recognition events, this is very important. Please be aware that the deadline for most of the recognition category events is before the state leadership conference. I'll go through those dates. Please review the important deadlines document, which I'll show you, that has these dates listed. This is new this year. So if you're a new advisor, then it won't even matter. But if you're an old advisor, you will need to note this because it is a change from prior years. This is for Barbara James Service Award and Health Literacy Ambassador events only, okay? Any member who's registered solely for the Barbara James Service Award and or the Health Literacy Ambassador recognition event, or if they're solely registered for both, if they're in both Barbara James and Health Literacy Ambassador, but that's all they're in, they must meet the minimum requirements for recognition, or they will not be permitted to attend the SLC, okay? This is not going to apply to somebody who is a competitor in public health and is also registered for Barbara James Service Award. If they don't meet the minimum requirements, they're still not going to be recognized, but they can still attend the SLC and obviously compete in their public health competitive event. This is only for Barbara James Service Award and Health Literacy Ambassador registrations only. That's all that they're in. They must meet the minimum requirements, and that's because we were having students who would have 2 or 3 hours for Barbara James Service Award and were registering that they were in Barbara James Service Award, coming to the state leadership conference, and being at the pool all weekend. Okay, that's not what we're there for. Like I mentioned, it's a privilege to be at SLC, and they need to earn their right to be there just as everybody else. So they will need to meet the minimum requirements for these 2 events if that's the only event that they're in. Okay, there are earlier deadlines for these 2 events. So all hours must be entered into hats and approved by the chapter advisor by February 20th at 11:59 p.m. EST. That is an earlier deadline. If the minimum requirements are not met by the deadline of February 20th, and you have that member in the registration system after it automatically closes on March 6th, your member will not be permitted to attend SLC and no refund will be issued for their registration. So what this means is all of the hours must be entered by the student and approved by you. So if I was you, I would give them an earlier deadline of like a week. So that way anybody that's late, with the deadline you gave them, and you have a little bit of time, it still gives you about a week to go through and approve everybody's hours, okay? February 20th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will pull the report from the system after that, and any student who is registered and that is their only event that they're in, Okay, so if they're registered for, like I said, public health or something, we're not going to do this. But if that's the only event they're registered in and they have not met the minimum requirements, we will be removing them from the registration system because they're not to attend SLC. If you go back in and put them in and they're in the system after the deadline, you will owe the money for them and it will not be refunded. Okay. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Like I had mentioned, competitors who are pursuing the Barbara James Service Award only, they have the option of attending the State Leadership Conference, which I already mentioned as the non-attending Barbara James Service Award. Again, you must verify and approve their hours by the deadline, and you have to register them for the conference as a non-attending Barbara James, and also making sure that you register them for the event, which I will show you when we get into the HOSA CMS. Moving on to HOSA history exam. This is this year only. This is Global National HOSA is only offering it this year for our SLCs and for ILC this year only in in conjunction with the 50th anniversary. So this is also can get confusing, so I want to go through this as well. Any eligible competitor attending SLC, meaning that they have advanced from regionals to states in their competitive event, or they've met the minimum requirements for a recognition event, they can take the HOSA history exam in addition to their competitive event or recognition event. So if they're already in a competitive event, recognition event, they can take the HOSA history exam as well. Okay? Any registered courtesy corps voting delegate or state officer candidate not competing, or even if they are, but if that's what they're only registered for, if they're only registered for courtesy corps, they can also take the HOSA history exam. Or if they're only registered for voting delegate, they can also take the history exam. Basically, you have to have an assignment or a function, and then you can take the HOSA history exam. Additionally, each chapter can bring up to 5% of their previous years, so the 24-25 school year, affiliation total to SLC to compete in the HOSA history exam without having another assignment or a function. Okay, so each chapter can bring up to 5% of their previous year's affiliation total to SLC to take the HOSA history exam without having another assignment or a function. If you're a new chapter this year, you can bring up to 3 members to solely take the HOSA history exam if you wish, because obviously you will not have an affiliation total from the previous year. Here's an example. If your chapter had 80 affiliated members last year, you can bring 4 extra members to solely take the HOSA history exam. And that's because you'll take 80, you'll multiply it by 5%, you'll get 4. We do round up. So if the number comes out to 3.15, we will round up to 4. Okay? HOSA happenings, please email all submissions to me by 11:59 p.m. on March 6th. Please make sure that all submissions are submitted as one PDF file, not separate files. Sometimes I'll get the HOSA happening submissions and there's 12 different attachments for each page. No, they need to put it together into one PDF file and submit it to me that way. Please note here, no Google Drive links will be accepted. I have to go then, because if a Google Drive link is submitted to me, I have to go in, download it, save it. Half the time I can't even get into the Google Drive link because I don't have permissions. So no Google Drive link sent for the HOSA happening submissions, and needs to be in one PDF file, not separate files. If it is not submitted that way, I will email you back and say that is not the correct way for submission. I will refer you to this document. If you do not get it to me by the deadline, it won't be accepted. Okay, courtesy corps. This is the Florida HOSA Board of Directors policy. Each school is allowed to designate only one courtesy corps member, and that member must assist each day of the conference, Thursday through Saturday. I do get questions of, my student member is in one sole competitive event, and then that's it. They're not a voting delegate. They're not a state officer candidate. We already have a designated courtesy corps. I want them to stay busy. Can they help with courtesy corps? They can, but you can't register them as a courtesy corps in the system. They would just need to come to SLC and attend the courtesy corps orientation and sign up there. You're only allowed to register one courtesy corps per school. And again, they must assist each day of the conference. I like to note this right here. If a courtesy corps member does not complete his or her assigned duty, that member's school will not be able to send a courtesy corps member to the next year's SLC, and school administration will be notified. I am cracking down hard on this for this year because we had a severe problem last year with courtesy corps signing up and then not showing up. And we had multiple competitive events that almost didn't run because the courtesy corps was designated as a patient and didn't show up to their assignment. The other thing to note, again, it's all 3 days, which includes Saturday. If you are taking your students against the policy and you're taking them to Disney Springs or wherever you're taking them, please make sure at least your courtesy corps is where they're supposed to be on Saturday. If they're signed up, which they will be signed up for something on Saturday, they are not to go with you. They are to be at the Marriott to fulfill their assignment that they signed up for. I will be getting with Jessica Cruz, the courtesy corps coordinator, after the conference. Any students who have signed up for courtesy corps and do not fulfill their duties of all 3 days of assisting, and it doesn't matter what they're assigned to. Jessica will work around their competitive events. She will work around if they're, registered for the Leadership Academy, or honestly, even if there's like a workshop they really, really, really want to go to, she will try her best to work around that. But they have to assist with whatever they're assigned by her. And if they don't fulfill those duties, I will be reaching out to the principal. I will CC you on it. And I will make sure that, it is communicated that you will not then get a courtesy corps member for the next year's SLC. We have to be firm on this because, again, we have gotten so large and we have to have the assistance of the courtesy corps, especially to service patients for the competitive events. And again, if they don't show up, the event can't run. And it would be a shame, especially if you had a student in that event, that they couldn't compete because the event couldn't run. So please make sure you're picking, if you want to bring a courtesy corps, that you're picking students that are a student that is trustworthy, that is going to fulfill their duty. If you want to assign courtesy corps to other student members once they get to SLC, please make sure they're also trustworthy. We just don't want people signing up just to sign up, okay? They need to be fulfilling their responsibilities. The courtesy corps form, it actually will not be a Google form this year. We are going to be using Sign Up Genius. Jessica is working on finalizing the form. It will be posted to our Florida HOSA website with a due date of March 6th, which is the same as the registration deadline. And I will let everybody know once that should be posted within the next week or so. Basically, what's going to happen is they will sign up for Thursday. And then when they get to SLC at the courtesy corps orientation, they will be signing up for their assignments for Friday and Saturday. Any courtesy corps specific questions should be directed to Jessica. Again, I get this question and I always refer back to this, but one courtesy corps per school. We've already discussed the Leadership Academy, but if you have any other questions about it, you can read here. All members, this is another thing to know, all members who are registered must attend, no exceptions. Attendance will be taken, and those who register and do not attend may be blocked from registering for future Leadership Academies or SLCs. National Anthem audition, if you have somebody interested in performing the National Anthem at our state conference, please have them submit a video recording or YouTube link to me. As well as a list of events at which they've performed previously. by tomorrow. We've been posting about this for a while on our social media, so most of the students have already seen it. But if you know of someone and want to have them quickly submit something, they can do so. And then I will contact them directly to arrange a rehearsal. Okay, going back to the main SLC page, here's that important deadlines document I was discussing. Again, mentioning there's no required digital uploads again. Rookie and local advisor recognition forms. I will show you those forms. That's for your student members to nominate you if they feel like they would like to do so. Nominate you for local advisor or rookie advisor, which we choose one advisor to recognize per division for both categories at our state conference. Those forms, the state officer team has been posting about that on social media, but if you would also like to let your members know, it can also be submitted by like your principal, your regional advisor, pretty much anybody that knows you and knows the work you do for HOSA. Those need to be submitted to me by February 27th, 11:59 p.m. EST. Florida HOSA Foundation Scholarship. State officer team's been posting about this for months, so your members should be aware. February 28th, 11:45 p.m. EST. We had to set a different time for the particular site that we have the application on. So that's 11:45 p.m. EST, February 28th. State officer application, that is due tomorrow. So hopefully if you have a state officer candidate, they already got their application into me, because any submissions after that date will not be accepted. I mentioned several times the registration deadline, March 6th, 11:59 p.m. EST. Hotel reservation deadline, again, March 6th. Courtesy Corps pre-registration, same thing, March 6th. The full registration packet postmark deadline, we've gone through all of this, but postmark March 16th. And again, reminder, putting all of the material in one packet. And then also including here the accommodation and eligibility forms for those 4 events that I mentioned. Those need to also be included with the registration packet and postmarked by March 16th. Recognition category events in orange. America's Blood Centers and HOSA Blood Drive, as well as American Red Cross Volunteer Recognition and HOSA Happenings and HOSA Service Project. Those all have a deadline of March 6th. But again, please note, the deadline includes you approving the hours. So the students have to enter the hours. You have to go in and approve them. Okay. They don't know how to do that. The instructions are in the guidelines. You point them to the guidelines. There's videos of how to do it. It's all laid out for them and they should have no problem. Barbara James Service Award and Health Literacy Ambassador on or before February 20th. Like I had mentioned, those are the 2 that have that earlier deadline, because we will be verifying that they have met the minimum requirements for both of those events. Or they will not be permitted to attend SLC if that's the only event that they're in. Okay, online registration instructions. If you need to reference it, this goes through how to register. I'll show you a little bit of the registration in the system in just a moment. But most of you, again, should be already familiar with this because you've registered for your regional conferences. Required registration forms, very important. Okay, we have it separated out for ease. Advisor chaperone forms. And again, all of these need to be sent to the Florida HOSA State Office. That's why it says that on there. Advisor chaperone forms. We have the checklist, which is listed first. This is where you will notate if you're not attending. The checklist is where you will put the lead chaperone and the lead chaperone's cell phone number. It's very important if you're not attending that you're designating somebody else as the lead point of contact. Please read through all of these items listed, check them off, sign where requested, which will be highlighted, and then make sure that everything is submitted It's all laid out here for you. I mean, we literally tell you exactly what needs to be submitted. So, I mean, we get submissions without the checklist, and we're going to email you and say, your registration's not complete without the checklist. You have to have the checklist also. And there's no point in not using it because it literally lays out everything that you have to have. And also would like to note at the bottom again, where to mail the completed registration packet to, which is our new office address. Okay? You have to have the checklist in your registration packet that's sent to us. The abuse prevention handbook. This is the one where I only need the last page. Okay, please don't send the whole thing. It's going to cost you more to mail. I just need the last page, which is the policies and procedure statement of acknowledgement and agreement. Okay, and I need this for every advisor or chaperone that is attending and registered. Just the last page. The advisor chaperone screening certification form, we need this. You can list if you have 3 advisors attending, or 5 chaperones and 1 advisor, whatever. Put them all on this one page. We don't need an individual page for each one. If you run out of room, obviously send us another page. But you can list everybody on one page. But we also have to have this. This is designated by our insurance company as required. And then the advisor chaperone code of ethics and medical liability release form. Again, please note at the top, SLC 2026. Please don't send me forms from FLDA 2021, okay? They have to be the current, the form has changed. We pretty much change something almost every year on these forms. So it needs to be the SLC 2026 Advisor Chaperone Code of Ethics and the medical liability release form, okay? For every single advisor, every single chaperone. Student member forms. It's going to be the student code of conduct, again, noting it, making sure it's the correct form, and the medical liability release form. If you send me a form that doesn't have SLC 2026 on the top, Mandy's going to email you back and say, those aren't the right forms. You need to resubmit. Then you're going to have to go through having to get signatures all again from the members and the parents please make sure you're submitting the correct form. It's all laid out here for you. Family guest forms. We have a family guest code of ethics for adults 18 or older. We have a family guest code of ethics and medical liability for minors under 18 in which the parent guardian will sign. It's pretty much the same form. Again, it'll list the conference at the top. This is the one for adults 18 and up. This is the one for the minor where the parent will be signing, parent or guardian. And again, if this is just for those family guests that you have registered that want to attend. The other question I get all the time is, so-and-so's parent only wants to go to the awards session. Do I have to register them? Yes. If they want to go to any part of the conference, they have to be registered because they're not going to be able to get into the conference without a name badge and a wristband. So they need to, the only way they get both of those is if they're registered. The eligibility accommodation form, again, for those 4 designated events. This must be filled out and submitted if you have a competitor in one of those 4 events that I listed, and submitted with your registration packet. Hotel information. Again, like I said, I got the overflow the other day. That will be added on here. The rate is lower than the Marriott, but different this year especially for my returning advisors. One, the rate has gone up, so it's $179 per night, plus an additional mandatory resort service package fee of $35, making it a total of $214. The hotel can only allow 4 guests maximum in the room per the fire code, but please read this paragraph carefully. Schools must take care of their own hotel reservations. The Florida HOSA room block at the Marriott will not open until Friday, February 13th at 8 a.m. Please don't email me asking me about the hotel room block, because the room block's not going to open until Friday, February 13th at 8 a.m. And if you try to go around and call the Marriott, they will not take your reservation. It does not open until that date at that time. There's going to be 3 ways to book, just how we've always done in the past. Online via passkey link and code, which will be provided on that date at that time, phone and email. We will post all of this booking information, including the code for the passkey link, at the top of the SLC page on our website, Friday, February 13th at 8 a.m. EST. Do not call the Marriott. They're not taking reservations. Please don't email me. It's not going to do anything. The block does not open until that date. And the reason for that is, coming back around to our policy of why you must stay at the hotel, we have to meet, this is how hotel contracts work. Just to note, we book our hotel contracts out about 6 years in advance because of how large we are. We have to fulfill a certain number of rooms within our block. So if we do not meet our attrition, Florida HOSA has to pay the difference. Last year, we had multiple chapters booking a crazy amount of rooms that they did not need. I'm talking 30, 35 rooms and only needing 5, okay? So they were hogging extra rooms and not canceling those rooms until a couple days before the conference. And we were at a place where Florida HOSA almost owed thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to meet the attrition that's in our contract, because people were estimating way too many rooms because they were booking before their regional conference happened, and they didn't know how many students they were going to bring. And then they weren't canceling once they knew. So that would have raised the registration fee for this year and probably the next few years if we would have had to pay for that out of our pocket. Again, we're a nonprofit, we're a small organization, we can't afford that. So that's why the HOSA room block will not be opening until Friday, February 13th at 8 a.m. because that is after the last regional conference. So Sunrise, you will have about a week to kind of finalize who is coming for your school, your chapter, and the room block will open. And at that point, all the other regions should know as well how many rooms you actually need. And you're not booking a crazy amount over what you need, hogging those rooms and then not making them available to other schools and chapters to utilize. So that's why the room block will not be opening until this date. Like I mentioned with the overflow, the Marriott, the room block's on a first come, first serve basis. So once that block is filled, the overflow, if you want to stay at the overflow to save some money, that's fine. You can do that. But we also only have a certain amount of rooms at the overflow. So once those are also filled, between the 2 hotels, we will have enough hotel rooms. We will have a bus, or buses. I don't know how many Jonathan will be setting up, but back and forth from the overflow to the Marriott. But please come back to the SLC page on that date at that time to get the information to book the hotel rooms. Deadline for hotel registration is March 6th. If you have any questions about the resort service package fee, tax exempt, this is all on here, parking and unloading, and then food. One thing to note, the hotel is cashless. So just make sure that your students have a way to purchase food at the hotel. So, credit card, debit card, gift card in the form of a credit card, something. But the hotel is cashless. We accept both cash and card at our HOSA store, but I, again, like to mention in terms of the hotel itself, it is cashless. If you need assistance calculating the hotel costs, you can use our information down here to calculate what the cost would be. I'm going to kind of speed through the rest of this so I can get to the registration and have some time at the end for Q&A. We have our tentative agenda posted. You can view that at your leisure. Lieutenant and event manager assignment chart. Like I said, if you're one of the lucky ones, we've assigned you. And but again, that doesn't mean if you're not on this list that you're not going to get assigned to something, because again, if something happens and an event manager, can't come, I will have to assign someone in their place. Judging, we will have orientation test proctors that will need to be advisors. So that assignment will come out. That's mostly for our health professions events and emergency preparedness. But if I assign you as an orientation test proctor, I will get that information out to you probably the week after registration closes, because I need to see who's registered for the conference before I assign anybody. But please check this. I will be sending you an email shortly with next week sometime with more information on this if you have an assignment. And then again, just note you may be asked to judge as well if you don't have another assignment as a lieutenant or event manager. Official dress code, again, very important. I already covered this. This is the flyer that Global National HOSA uses as well. But again, please note our dress code policy you can read through. Competitive event updates if you need to look at that. Here's a substitution of team members information. So again, substitutions can be used moving from the regional conference to the state conference. The percentage of original team members that competed at the regional conference on the new SLC team must be 25% or higher. And that's a rule set in place by Global National HOSA, and it's in their general rules and regulations. You can look it up. So to determine if a team with substitutes will be able to compete at the SLC, you divide the number of original team members that are remaining from the regional conference and that are on the new SLC team by the total number of members on the new team. And that result must be 25% or higher. So we have some examples here. You can read through it. We have the equation at the bottom if you'd like to use it, but I'll quickly just give HOSA Bowl as an example. The team must be comprised of 4 members. If there are 2 team members unable to attend the SLC, they would need to have substitutes, so there would now be 2 original team members remaining on the new SLC team and 2 substitutes. You have to have 4 for that particular event. The team would be able to compete at the SLC because 50% of the original team is still intact. Okay, so you have your 2 original team members from the regional conference that are on the new SLC team. You're going to divide that by the 4 total team members on the new SLC team, and it's going to equal 50%, which is higher than 25. So that is permitted. Okay, if you have any questions, just come back again. We have a couple more examples that you can look at. Courtesy course sign up, like I mentioned, will be posted shortly once I get the final sign up from Jessica. Voting delegate info and election procedure. We will give the regional advisors their allotted voting delegate numbers on February 1st. They will then reach out, and they are the ones to designate the voting delegates for that region. Each region has a certain number of voting delegates. And if you do not hear from the regional advisor that you have a voting delegate, then you don't have a voting delegate. So that those voting delegates are designated by them. If you do have voting delegates, you'll receive more information from me, one document of which will be the info and election procedure. And it's very important that if you have a voting delegate, they understand their responsibilities. We have bylaw changes this year, so that's something to note. And they also vote on the new state officer team for the next year. So it's very important that they fulfill the duties that they're signing up for. They're selected. State officer candidate information. Hopefully your state officer candidates already know all of this, but if they don't, point them here. Florida HOSA Foundation scholarship application. You can follow the instructions on there. Again, that's due February 28th. Here's the rookie advisor recognition form. And again, this is nominations. This is for nominations of advisors with no more than 2 years of experience, hence the rookie. So any advisors that have no more than 2 years experience, the form needs to be filled out on the rookie form. Any advisors with more than 2 years, whoever's nominating will fill on the local advisor recognition form. Penny Wars, if you want to read about that, that document is here. Our pin and t-shirt design winner. This will be the design for the pin, as well as the design that will be on the t-shirt. And this was voted on by the Florida HOSA members. And then we have a due list for SLC that you can read at your leisure. So this is the SLC page. Again, please make sure you're reading through here. I already covered all of these bullet points in the information and instructions page, but it's very important you look through this and read these fully again. I'm gonna jump over to the registration. We have 2 different tiles for registration. You should already be familiar with this, having attended the regional conferences and registering for them. We will have a tile for the middle school SLC and a tile for the secondary and post-secondary. So middle school is here, secondary, post-secondary here. Again, if you are middle school or middle high and you have middle school members, I sent a separate email to you all with some more information that I don't want to, have to get into and mention again on this, just because it doesn't pertain to everybody. But if you did not get that email, please reach out to me. If you're a middle high, you will need to register your middle school members under the middle school tile and your secondary and post-secondary members under the secondary, post-secondary registration. Okay. So going in here, I'm going to actually log into our other account. So that way I can show you just a couple of things for registration. So you should see this, a screen for your own particular chapter when you go to do the registrations. Same thing for the regional conferences. You'll come here under this red plus for registration. You'll click whichever student or advisor or whatever you're registering, click register. Whatever they're affiliated in the system, is what will be populated here above in the registration type. So advisor, Florida HOSA honorary life member. If you have, I saw a couple of honorary life members on the call. So if you are an advisor, but you also are an honorary life member, you just need to change your registration type to honorary life member. We will be checking that. So please don't choose honorary life member if you're not an honorary life member just to get the 0 registration fee. We will be looking through and checking all the registrations. Here's where non-attending Barbara James Service Award is. You'll check that again if you have somebody that's doing non-attending Barbara James. We got post-secondary collegiate regional advisor, only if you're a regional advisor. Again, we will be checking, and then secondary member. Scrolling down, options activities. This is where you will choose courtesy core. You must, if you're designated in courtesy core, you must go in and choose courtesy core under the options activities for your 1 allowed. Again, you'll see right here it says only 1 per school. Because this is, I will use our registration to pull the registrations for courtesy core, and that's who we will be communicating with. So if you have a courtesy core member and you don't register them for courtesy core, I'm not going to know that. Leadership Academy, again, it has that extra $10 charge for anybody interested in doing the Leadership Academy. If you have a state officer candidate, please make sure you're selecting that. Again, you would have signed off on the application for the state officer, noting that you must register them as a state officer candidate in the SLC registration. Here's the options for t-shirts and then voting delegates down here at the bottom. And again, those are appointed by the regional advisor. Okay, those are options activities. Down here, register for competitive events. Here's where all of the competitive events are going to be. If you're registering in the middle school tile, it's going to be only the middle school events. If you're registering in the secondary and post-secondary tile, it's not going to have the middle school events. It's going to only have the secondary and post-secondary events. You'll choose whatever event. One thing I do want to note for our non-attending Barbara James, Not only do you have to register them as non-attending Barbara James, like I did up here, selected that as the registration type, you also, this is very important, you also have to go down here under register for competitive events and choose Barbara James Service Award as the competitive event. So it's a twofold thing. You have to put them in the Barbara James Service Award competitive event, and you also have to put them in non-attending Barbara James only. If it's not non-attending and you have a secondary member that's doing Barbara James, you still have to register them for Barbara James. If a lot of times what'll happen, I'll get advisors that'll come to headquarters and say, my student was not recognized under Barbara James Service Award. And I'll say, well, did you register them for the Barbara James Service Award competitive event? And they'll say yes. I'll go in the system. They didn't. They just registered them, and they may have been in a competitive event or a voting delegate or something. And yeah, they might have approved the hours, but they didn't register them for the Barbara James Service Award competitive event. And this is what we use, this registration, when we're pulling the results for who to be recognized. So you need to make sure they're also registered in the actual competitive event as well. I want to also note down here at the bottom, register family guest other. This is where you'll go and register your chaperones, your guest family. You'll come here and register them as well. You can also add t-shirts if you would like to their registration, but this is where you will go and do that. I'm not going to go in depth into showing you how to register for teams, how to register, or how to pull this registration summary report, invoice, all that, because all of that was covered in the regional conference CE advisor webinar I did. That recording is posted to our website. If you need assistance with registering, look back at that recording. But that is there for you for your viewing when you are going in and registering. If you feel like you need additional assistance, you can view that recording. And then, like I said, you can also come back to our SLC page, and under the online registration instructions, you can view it that way as well.
Jackie.
Yes.
Just quickly, if you click on the advisor SLC informational webinars block, I also posted that regional conference webinar under, scroll down. So it's right there if they need to access it. It's a good way to check for how to see if your registration has any errors also.
Yeah, it's very important if you feel like you just kind of need a refresher and you don't remember how to check for errors and check and make sure go back to this recording and watch it. And we have it time stamped, so you don't need to, go through every single part of it. But we have it time stamped for the HOSA CMS portion. You can watch that part of it. Normally at this point, I would do a summary of important items, but I feel like I have really touched on everything and repeated those important things along the way. So I am going to open it up for the last 10 minutes or so for any questions you all may have. Lloyd, Casey, is there anything you'd like to add at all?
I already said my piece, so I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I will open it up for questions. I will pull up the chat. You can either use the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. I will start with the chat. Hi, Amanda. She says, I'm sorry, who did you say we need to send information to for the W-9? That would be Sandra Lynn. She's our business and finance manager. Her information can be found on the contact us page on our website. So you could just email her and she'll get you that updated W-9 with the new Florida HOSA address.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Sarah, for she said Sandra Lynn.
Good evening, Jackie.
Hi.
Hi, Happy New Year, Jackie and
Happy
Lloyd.
New Year.
I have a question concerning the family members um and the hotel stay. Will they be able to book the hotel at with us at the Marriott, or will they be able, or do they have to find a different stay location,
That's a good question.
different accommodations?
Yeah, that's a good question. All registered attendees must stay at the designated hotels. So even if they're a family guest member, they need to stay at either the Marriott or the Overflow Hotel. And like I said, I will put the Overflow Hotel on the document next week. But they must stay. Now, each school kind of handles that differently. So some schools will make the full hotel reservations for everybody, like all together. Sometimes they will just do the advisors and the student members and leave it to the family guests to reserve the hotel space on their own. But they must stay at one of the designated hotels.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Trisha, health literacy doesn't have the option of non-attending. The only non-attending option is Barbara James Service Award. That was approved by the board. That's the only option or the only recognition event that has the non-attending option. It is not open to health literacy ambassador. I will email out some important information regarding the competitive events if there's a weird instance or maybe a confusing part within the guidelines of what's required when it comes to digital uploads or what's in person. Because yes, there are events that that do not allow a laptop within the event. So I will send an email about any specific competitive events that have a little bit of like a weird instance. And if you have any questions specifically, of course, you can reach out to me and ask, and I'll be happy to help. Um, this is recorded. We will be hopefully we'll have this posted by tomorrow. But if you want to watch it before we have this one posted, you can watch the original one that I did last week, which again covered the same information. So that recording's already posted. Like Lloyd had mentioned it, he also linked the regional CE advisor webinar I did as well. That goes through how to register for the events. But I will send an email though to all advisors once both recordings are posted so that you know that they're there. Great question, Julie. If I'm registered as an advisor for secondary, so this is like my middle high chapters. If I'm registered as an advisor for secondary, do I also need to register as the advisor for my one middle school student? No. We'll know based on the chapter that you're registering that student under. We'll know that they're with you. You can also just make a note on the checklist. That would also help us if you remember to do it. Just noting, you have one middle school member, but no, you do not have to register twice if you're a middle high and you're bringing both students or, both divisions. Webinar is on the SLC website. It's on our Florida HOSA website under the SLC page. I will show you quickly. So if you go back to our SLC page, scroll down, it's the first box, Advisor SLC Informational Webinars. So it's right there, and you can click on it. We already have the first one I did on the 20th last week. And then like Lloyd had mentioned, he linked the regional one just for ease right there. Sarah, I have students who are doing mental health promotion and are wondering if they can continue to post and if they can improve their presentation. I forget exactly what number I actually just sent out an email about this the other day. I forget exactly what number it is in the general rules and regulations, but refer to the general rules and regulations. There's a section in there about moving from one level to the next, so regional to states and then states to international. Unless it's strictly prohibited, they are able to make changes to the project. Like I said, but always refer back to the guidelines for that, because there might be an instance where that is prohibited and they're not allowed to make changes. But that is also in the general rules and regulations that you can look at. I want to say it's on page 4 or 5. You don't see where to add pins. We do not do any sort of pre-order for pins. You will get 1 pin per registered member, per registered person that's going to attend the conference. That will be included in the registration fee that you're paying. Those will be in your registration bag, and you will get those. But if you want to purchase any additional pins, we will have those for sale at the HOSA store. Great question. Barbara James Service Award. There's a question about what's required, or not really required, but what could be used as a community activity. I would say refer to the guidelines. There are some examples. If you have a specific instance and you're still not sure, just send me an email, and if I can't really decide or figure it out, I will CC in Jan Mold from National HOSA to kind of give some clarification.
If I can jump in real quick on that one, Jackie.
Sure.
Barbara James, the whole intent behind that event is to get the members out into the community. And the way the question is phrased, if a student helps at a food shelter with a different club, does that mean it would not count? If I were the advisor, I would not approve those hours because it's like double dipping. They're getting credit for this other club, but they're also trying to get credit for doing it for HOSA. So if I were the advisor, I would not approve those hours. Again, just thinking about the whole intent behind the event is to get the students out into the community, not benefiting HOSA, not benefiting, the school in any way, just out into the community, benefiting the community. If that helps, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Lloyd. Lauren, where can the guide with this information be found on the HOSA site? Are you referring to, I don't know exactly specifically what you're referring to, but if you're referring to the information page where I had all the information, it's the second box, SLC information and instructions. If you're talking about the general rules and regulations, that would be on the National HOSA site.
I think she found it.
She found it? Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. How will I know if there's a digital upload for my event? Well, one, I hope you're not a student. I hope you're an advisor asking that question. There are no digital uploads, so that was already discussed. And it's in the guidelines. Do we have to register members twice for HOSA? Sorry, do we have to register members twice for history exam and their other event, Shelly? You need to register them for their competitive event, and then if they want to participate in the HOSA history exam, you also need to register them for that, and that'll be found in the list of competitive events.
And I think if I'm understanding it correctly, when you're on the individual's registration page, you would click on the competitive events button, put them in whatever competitive event they're in. But then while you're still on that page, click on the competitive event button again, and you can add them to the HOSA history exam. I'm not sure if that's what she's asking.
I'll show it real quick. So I'll use Moofy as an example, but under competitive events, let's just say they're doing healthy living. You'll register them for healthy living, okay? Then you'll go back in and do the HOSA history exam. So then it'll list it twice. It'll list the HOSA history exam and it'll list healthy living, and then you save it. HOSA history exam question. We had 64 members last year. 5% comes to 3.2. Can I bring 3 or 4? So yeah, that's when I mentioned we round up. So if you have anything point something, it rounds up to the next number. So you could bring 4 in that instance. Any other questions?
Just really quick, Jackie. Hi, it's Lisa again. So there is not an extra fee for the students taking, like, registering for the history exam?
No, no extra fee for the HOSA history exam. That'll be offered for free as long as what's followed is in the rules that's in the information instructions document. So again, if they're already, in a competitive event or recognition or courtesy court voting delegate state officer, they can come and take the history exam. And then that's when the 5% rule comes into play if it's anybody else that's not doesn't have an assignment or a function. Do state officer candidates go through a preliminary round before qualifying to attend states? No, not necessarily. I mean, I guess you could say the preliminary round is me going through their application and making sure that they have fulfilled every single requirement of the application. So if I go through their application and there's a signature missing, which shouldn't be because we're doing it through DocuSign, you have to have all 4 signatures for me to even get the document. And we've set all the required fields that need to be filled out, but mainly it'll be that the only way that they really wouldn't go through to states is if they do not meet the GPA requirement once I review their official transcript, or if their parent or guardian has not fulfilled the parent-guardian webinar requirement. Or if they haven't turned in the transcripts, then that also applies. Other than that, as long as they've met every requirement, they will go on to states. They will get our email from me with kind of next steps, just some information on general things to study for the test and what is expected of them when they get to SLC. But they won't get that for a few weeks until I'm able to get all of the final completed applications and go through them and make sure we have all the information and all of that. You're welcome. Any other questions? I think I got through everything there in the chat. There's no other questions. And again, if you think of something after this that's not answered in all of the documents we have posted. I mean, we work really hard on these documents to make sure you all have the information you need. So please just, if you have another question, review those first. And if you can't find the answer, go ahead and reach out to me and I can assist. All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking time out of your night. I know you all are so busy. So I really do appreciate it. Like I said, we're going to try very hard to have this recording posted tomorrow, Monday at the latest, and I'll email everybody. So thank you all so much. Thanks for all you do for Florida HOSA and your members. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you at SLC. Thank you. Have a great night.